Well, it's the big game weekend, and what better person to have on than NFL Hall of Famer Ken Houston. Ken, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So Ken, you're here because we want to talk to you about Gridiron Greats, but we have a couple questions. We wanted to talk to you about your journey, but tomorrow is the day that the NFL announces the next class for its Hall of Fame. So having
Yeah,
you on, we had to ask you, what was it like for you to get that call to find out that you were going to be enshrined in Canton?
you know what happened was the day that I got inducted, the Challenger exploded, and so I'm home. I'm home waiting. Not on the Challenger explosion, but waiting on this announcement from the NFL. And all of a sudden the TV people left the house, and everybody had gone to East Texas, which is where I'm from, because the Challenger had gone down over that part of East Texas. And so it was really, really bittersweet because at that time, it was a lot more important. Life was more important than anything else. And so now that I look back on it, I can always identify with that and knowing that I was a part of that whole scenario. And that's how important things were taken on in that one moment in time.
You know, I also, Ken, I read the presenter's speech and your speech for the Hall of Fame, and Wally Lim was your presenter, and he talked about in 1967, your rookie season, that he was told by another coach that he should go talk to you because you were ready to go home. What was
Yes.
it about Wally Lim and that moment and that period of time that in any way influenced you to end up becoming the player and the person that you became?
Well, it was the individual because, you would assume it's like kids in your family. You think that they would all want to play football. Football is a hard job. You get hit, you get hurt, and you have to show up. And I remember I had gotten injured. We played in San Antonio. I'd gotten injured. I had dislocated my big toe. And I mean, I was in pain. I remember we had, I think, a 12-pack of Cokes. I tell my wife all the time. We had a Volkswagen, green, and it was double green. Anyway, we drove this Volkswagen home, and my toe was unbelievably sore. And as a matter of fact, I played the whole year in a shoe that was a half size larger so that I could actually get away from some of the pain on the field. And to have Wally back me up behind that and actually call my wife and tell her, I need to come to training camp because he thought I had a chance to make the team. It was something that was always bittersweet.
You were drafted in the 1967 draft, which was the first joint draft between the AFL and the NFL. What was it like to be playing through and get drafted through that merger? I had seen you say that the AFL was a wild bunch because we were totally different from the NFL. What was that all like?
Well, it was like we were not going to make it home overnight. I mean, we were, you talking about a wild bunch. I don't know how we made anything. We had some great players. I remember some guys that could really, really, we had like George Webster and Pete Barnes, and I mean, people that could really play football. I mean, it's like, not only can I play football, I will hurt you, And so, it was, we didn't believe what they told us. We thought that our objective to play football was to actually get out there and not really hurt somebody, but take their job. And the way you took their job, you hurt them, And so we thought if we could take your job, and we did. And there were some guys that could really play. So we enjoy, and not when I laugh at this because I'm not being negative. Jobs were on the line, but we didn't realize jobs were on the line. I think my first contract was $14,000. And maybe some pork rinds. That's what that was like.
Always comes back to the pork rinds, which we'll get to in a little bit. You mentioned that it was $14,000. in addition to that job, I was amazed. You sang in the church choir on Sundays before the games with the Oilers.
Yes,
What was that?
yes. What happened was I was brought up in East Texas in the church, and we were brought up in the church. I mean, you had, before you did anything, you had to go to church on Sunday, and so I had that in the back of my mind. I would go, and I would sing in the church choir, go to the field, go to the dome at the time, and we would go in and we were at the church, and we had a minister, and he would talk about how important it was to have God in your life. And so I grew up like that then, and I'm still like that now. There are things right now that have just had other other bases of importance, and it was what my parents taught me. And because of the experience I had on both outcomes, I know it worked.
You mentioned the Dome, going to it. The Astrodome had just opened. What was it like to move into that stadium in '68 with the Oilers?
The Dome was one huge place, and it seemed like you could play forever in the Dome. You know, it's like it was an experience like no other. It was playing in a big open building. Guys enjoyed it. It was open. All the guys, we laughed and had a lot of fun doing it. But in the end, I looked at the Dome last week, I think it was, and I was wondering why they couldn't coexist now, because it is so much space there between the old Astrodome and the new Astrodome, and the people, the games they play there, and they're all the same. And I think the people enjoyed it. It was a lot of work to be done, but we enjoyed playing there.
Well, Ken, I think one of the reasons that you enjoyed playing so much is for a defensive guy, you found the end zone an incredible number of times. In 1971, you became the first and only defensive player in NFL history to score 5 touchdowns in a single season. What was it about you that you ended up in the end zone as a defensive player so often?
Well, I was, believe it or not, I was a lineman and a middle linebacker. And for me to score a touchdown was just kind of like, what am I doing here? And I remember we played the San Diego Chargers, and I had back-to-back touchdowns. I mean, Haley threw a pass, I intercepted, ran for a touchdown. He threw another pass, I intercepted the pass, ran it for a touchdown. And so I just felt like once that ball was in the air, it was mine to at least try to intercept. And we had all our guys believed in that. At that time, the game was still pretty wild. You could be hitting guys after the ball and stuff like that. I don't mean after the ball from a negative standpoint, but we just felt like it was ours to do what we wanted to do with. And I still have to pinch myself to go back and say, did you actually do that? It almost it was two different people. And that's what it amounts to, because I think about it now and I laugh about it, and it was almost like when you see a Super Bowl preview now, you see these guys did this and guys did that, and I remember having like 49 interceptions, and had dropped 1 or 2 on the way to the end zone. So I look at it now, but it was almost as if someone else did it.
Ken, you talked about how your first contract was $14,000 and threw in that it might be in addition to some pork rinds. As great as the NFL was back then, as great players like you, there's a reason that you're involved, and the reason that you wanted to come on was because of Pork Rind Appreciation Day and what you're doing with Gridiron Greats. Can you tell us how you got involved with Gridiron Greats and how we all can get involved in that?
One thing for sure. Without Mike Dichter, it wouldn't have happened. Without Mike Dichter, it wouldn't have happened. And Dichter had the fortitude to make these things go. Gridiron Greats got involved in it. I've been involved with them a couple of years now, and it's almost like you're living a dream. If somebody would look at us now and say, "What is he talking about?" Pork rinds, And then you eat these programs and you find yourself sending off ordering for them. You also have an opportunity to win like $5,000. I had an opportunity to go to their plant and see how they make these things, and it was unbelievable. And to see how, and I'm not just trying to sell a program. I'm trying to tell you these things taste great. So if you haven't had an opportunity to get in and involve yourself with it, taste one, and you will find yourself ordering for these. You'll find yourself telling people, how healthy they are, because they've gone a long way into getting them up to what they need to be for the health and the heart and stuff like that. And then the thing that you can't get away from, and I hope it never happens, is Mike Ditka, because he has an awful lot to do with what has been done. And I'm sure that it's probably a thing that wouldn't have been done without Mike and the fortitude that he has.
I saw you say that you played football, but you never really became a football player. You wanted to be a teacher.
Right.
And then in retirement, you were able to coach and be a guidance counselor for children in hospitals. What is it for you about working and giving back? You won the Alan Page Community Service Award when you played, and clearly after your career, you've gotten to fulfill that part of your dreams. What is it about that that's so special for you?
Well, it shows you how you can separate the two. There's so many guys that we really didn't understand exactly what we were doing. The Hall of Fame was still relatively new. So you had an opportunity to meet these guys, and you knew they were real people. It wasn't anything that was given. This guy got into the Hall of Fame because he had either all these interceptions, all these touchdowns, or he could hit you harder than anybody else, make you not want to play the game because you felt like this was his position. And so as a result, you see, and it's not a negative anymore, but you see a lot of guys who think that they are actually supposed to be in the Hall of Fame. The reason you are supposed to be in the Hall of Fame is because you have the numbers and you put in the time and did the job that you were supposed to, and you allowed other people to cheer you on per se, or that you could, if I can hit you harder than you can hit me, then you deserve to be in that spot. And that's what happened then. They would hit you harder than you hit them. And so you felt like not that you wanted to be in the Hall of Fame, you just deserved like that was your spot. So they gave you an opportunity to win your spot. And that's what the Hall of Fame is.
Ken, you talked about who hits who harder. I got to ask you, as a guy on defense, who was the guy who hit you hardest on offense? Who was the guy that you did not want to tackle?
Oh, boy. You had a lot of good ones. But the number one, I guess, guy that was in my place was Earl Campbell. The minute I knew, the minute I hit Earl, prior to then it was Jim Brown. So it wasn't like it was a whole bunch of guys with a whole huge list that was going to hit you harder than the other guy. You knew it was one or two guys that you didn't want to hit you, period. And so when you come down to an Earl Campbell or a Jim Brown or, people like that, or even a Mike Ditka, his name keeps jumping up. Mike was one of the most feared tight ends in the game. And it didn't matter whether he was going to hit you or not. He was going to hit you, period. And so what you had to do is you had to say that, I'm going to hit Mike harder than he's going to hit me, and maybe in the end, I might be the guy. And so as a result, it worked out like that. It wasn't any guesswork. If he could make me bleed, I was going to bleed. If I could make him bleed, he was probably going to bleed. And that's how we played the game.
Well, you mentioned Earl Campbell and you mentioned Mike Ditka, and we've talked a little bit about the gridiron greats. Those guys have had a lot of injuries as a result of football that they've had to deal with afterwards. And the Players Association and the league didn't really take care of players the way that they are taking care of now. What's it like to have not just Ditka, as you mentioned, but other players kind of standing up for the old guard?
It's great. I don't know if you know my story. I've had 2 bouts with cancer. As a matter of fact, I just got out of the hospital last week, and I was in the hospital 4.5 weeks prior to that. So I know what it is to have cancer firsthand when there's no hope or no help other than God. And so to watch the people outside of the football world work for you just to try to pull you back up to what they call a level playing field. And so, when you look at it like that, and then other than God, there's no hope. There's no hope. And today, this day, I just got through having therapy where they could just try to pull your body back together, where you would have strength enough just to be able to hold a conversation, and knowing that all the other people that are out there that are using this therapy and the help that the league has decided to give, that the mics have decided to give, that the people, even in the program industry, has decided to give. You might think it's the one thing, but without that particular jolt or without that particular boost, you're looking at something that's almost impossible. So, we talk about it, we laugh about it, but we understand the realness of this situation.
Well, and you clearly do understand the realness, and we wish you the best of health with everything. And it's.
Ken, are you still there?
Hello?
Yeah. So
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Jason, but what he was saying is kind of the way I feel too. Is Ken, we do wish you the best of luck and best of health. We love having you on. Hope we can have you on again someday soon. And can you tell us where? Can you tell us where we can help people with Gridiron Greats?
Well, they have this one thing called Program Appreciation Day. And it's on the biggest day of the year, Super Bowl Sunday, which is coming up very quickly. The fans can actually go in, and they don't have to. They can sign up and win $5,000. This will help. Gridiron Great Assistance Fund. This is through Coach Mike Dichter. Fans can win by visiting program.com. Watch us tell our story there from the game to win $5,000 and a year of programs. You'll also have an opportunity to enter to win an interview with the Gridiron Great. And hopefully I'm that guy, because I feel pretty strong right now. And you got Jack Youngblood, Andre Reed, Billy White Shoes, Ickey Woods of all people, Reggie Kelly. You got Coach Mike Dichter. And, if you notice one thing about Mike, you can't call Mike without calling him Coach. So we all have that tremendous amount of respect. So this is something that program.com or Program Appreciation Day has been really, really good. And hopefully it'll only grow better.
Well, Ken, we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you have fun watching the big game this weekend, and hopefully we can have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you so much. And go to southernrecipe.com. And let's see if we can talk about it after this is over.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you. To win an interview with the Gridiron Great. And hopefully I'm that guy, because I feel pretty strong right now. And you got Jack Youngblood, Andre Reed, Billy White Shoes, Ickey Woods of all people, Reggie Kelly. You got Coach Mike Dichter. And, if you notice one thing about Mike, you can't call Mike without calling him Coach. So we all have that tremendous amount of respect. So this is something that program.com or Program Appreciation Day has been really, really good. And hopefully it'll only grow better.
Well, Ken, we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you have fun watching the big game this weekend, and hopefully we can have you on again sometime soon.
Thank you so much. And go to southernrecipe.com. And let's see if we can talk about it after this is over.
Sounds good. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.